from the world of research and medicine.
When I was in medical school, I think there were 11 females in my medical school class. Now over 50% of medical school classes are often female.
To the field of business and entrepreneurship.
The joys of being self-employed or being an entrepreneur is having that freedom to be self-expressive.
Women in Greater Cincinnati are soaring to new heights.
There's absolutely no reason a woman can't be successful as a pilot.
Shining a spotlight on achievement in this edition of Let's Talk Cincy. From WLWT, this is Let's Talk Cincy, presented by Western and Southern Financial Group. Put our financial strength behind you.
There are amazing women working in various fields right here in Greater Cincinnati. Today we shine a light on their accomplishments. Welcome to Let's Talk Cincy. I'm Stephen Albert, and we begin with Dr. Gurjit Khurana Hershey. Dr. Hershey is a professor and director of asthma research at Cincinnati Children's Hospital. She's working on childhood asthma and allergy research, which is a very personal mission.
I became very interested in asthma and allergies because it's something that affected my family. My mother has had asthma and my son has asthma, so that's something that I've been working on for over 30 years now, and really I've devoted my career to improving the lives of children with asthma. Asthma is an allergic disease of the airways. It's an inflammatory disease of the airways, and the thing that makes asthma so difficult is that there are periods of wellness. It's a relapsing and remitting disease, so children can be totally fine for months at a time and then have an exacerbation where their asthma gets worse. And because of that, sometimes they forget that that disease is, even though it may only exacerbate a few times a year, it's present more often, right? And so it needs continuous observation, continuous treatment in order to prevent those exacerbations. Asthma is an environmental disease. It has a genetic component, definitely. So if you have a parent with asthma, for instance, you're more likely to have asthma, but it's also very affected by the environment. And Ohio has a very high prevalence of asthma. 1 in every 5 children is affected with asthma in our state. And if you look at the burden of asthma, 2/3 of children with asthma report an exacerbation in the last year. So we could be doing a better job in terms of how we care for asthma, how we treat asthma, and preventing these exacerbations. One of the things we know about asthma is that it's connected to eczema early in life. So if you take a group of children with eczema, half of them will go on to develop asthma. And so I actually direct an asthma and allergic diseases center that's funded by the National Institute of Health. And it's to understand that progression from eczema to asthma. Why do some children develop asthma while others do not? And how can we really understand that? And by doing that, we'll be able to prevent disease. If we can start with kids with eczema and find out why they get asthma, we can start to think about how can we prevent the onset and development of asthma. So that's one of the major focuses of my laboratory. I've been at Cincinnati Children's for 25 years. And this is a great place to do that because unfortunately we have a lot of children with asthma, but fortunately this is just a tremendous institution and there are a lot of resources and there's a very strong commitment to child health. So I actually have the great privilege to be the director of the medical scientist training program at the College of Medicine. And one of the things that we're really committed to is to bring more women, young women, into the MSTP programs, but also underrepresented minorities and people from marginalized populations. It's so important because we need all different types of experiences and backgrounds to tackle child health and to tackle asthma. Also, asthma affects a lot of not only young males, but young females, and especially women in early life. I mean, in early adulthood, women are often affected more than men. And so it's really important for everybody to be represented, not only in providing the health care, but also doing the science.
Increasing the ranks of women in medicine, why inclusivity means more than just a numbers game. Let's talk about it when we return. Welcome back. The Association of American Medical Colleges reported in 2021 that 37% of active doctors were women. That number drops to just under 6% for black doctors, men and women combined. Family physician Dr. Anissa Shomo is working to increase those numbers through mentoring and inclusion.
What I'm most passionate about is pipeline work. So that's what we call it. We talk about having a pipeline of diverse doctors in the pipeline. So that includes women, that includes, all types of ways to define diversity. Once I got into medical school, I started doing a lot of pipeline work with undergrads because I went to Ohio State for undergrad and medical school. And that was a big thing that I felt was missing at Ohio State, was that connection to the medical school and having mentors there. So I started doing a lot of events, like networking events where people can meet, where undergrads can meet doctors or medical students, and then medical students can meet, practicing doctors and residents. So I've been doing pipeline work for a long time because I felt that for me, I just didn't have a lot of access to really knowing what I needed to do to get into medical school. And then now it's more about supporting, medical students while they're there during that 4 years and beyond when they're in residency and in their careers. So it's just really important to equip women. So, we're doing pretty well with getting women into medical school. But the biggest thing is like classism. So for me, being a young black woman from inner city, Cleveland, just even this, for me, making it seem like it's accessible. Because there's different levels of diversity, but I see that a lot of urban youth don't really feel like it's accessible for them. And so for me, it's important to be in those spaces. Like last week, I was speaking for spring break at Woodward High School. They invited me to come and talk to them about my journey, where I came from, how I was able to make it to medical school, make it through medical school, and then have a career in academia. My parents were bakers, so I grew up in a family business, and I'm one of 9 siblings, so I have a huge family, and just really was raised in a community. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that taught me about inclusive is if you can have, I have 7 sisters, 1 brother. So if you can think about a community in your family and just how people have different personalities and different little quirks, then I feel like that is kind of where I build that foundation of inclusion and also of just understanding that women have different experiences. When you have an inclusive team, there may be somebody on that team who knows how to communicate with a patient in a different way. And so that's kind of what's, like I said, there's just been a lot of, for a long time, people who were from certain classes became physicians, and it's been harder for people who don't have that level of income to be able to relate to those doctors and really to understand whatever information that they're presenting. Because that's one of the biggest things that people say, my patients say about me, is I really understand what you're saying to me. You explained it in a way, and it's like, because I'm from the same place that you're from. That's why, the community leaned on us as Black doctors during the COVID-19 pandemic to be able to explain to people why it was important to get the COVID-19 vaccine and why we trusted it. And one of the biggest things I said was, there's research that goes into every blood pressure medicine that you take and every, diabetes medicine and all these different medicines, and the same process exists for vaccines. And I think a lot of people never really thought about that. But for me, like I said, if I have to figure out how to explain it to my family, then I can explain it to my community different, and people may think, oh, I guess I never really thought about the fact that, there's a research process for all of these things. And I take my blood pressure medicine all the time. I take my diabetes medicine all the time, and that's been fine. Maybe this vaccine could be fine too.
Up next, business is all in the family for one Greater Cincinnati entrepreneur. What you can learn from her story. That's coming up in just a moment. Welcome back to Let's Talk Cincy. According to the 2021 U.S. Census Bureau's annual business survey, 21% of American companies are owned by women, and that entrepreneurial spirit can be found in Tracy Hayes. Tracy is the ETA program coordinator for the Greater Cincinnati Micro Enterprise Initiative. Tracy says she found her drive to build businesses within her own family.
Once I realized that my grandparents, who owned a landscaping business for more than 50 years, I never really looked at them as business owners until I was old enough to get my first Big Girl job. And it was I was a receptionist for a nonprofit incubator downtown. And they work with small businesses and entrepreneurs. And I realized that, wait, my grandparents work for themselves 9 months out of the year. They're entrepreneurs, and I didn't realize it until I was old enough to learn about small business and entrepreneurship. So I then started looking at other people in the family. My mother was someone who was like, she was a nurse. She made her own wedding cake. She could sew, make clothes. My sister, always talked about entrepreneurship all the time. My brother was a DJ. So I had all of these entrepreneurial spirits around me, and it didn't dawn on me until I got that first Big Girl job as a receptionist at the incubator that this is a real thing. Entrepreneurship could be, a focus or an opportunity for myself. So I looked at my own talents and I said, well, what is my gift? And I thought that, could I be, I love to do event planning. I'm a coordinator at heart, and I love to help plan. I love to coordinate. And I thought, I think my thing is gift baskets. So I started my first business as a gift basket service, and I would make holiday or special occasion gift baskets for people, birthdays, weddings, what may have you. But then I started to take notice for small businesses, and then I asked them would they be interested in, providing gift baskets to their employees, their vendors, their accounts, and they said, well, sure. And my first business that called me was TQL out in Batavia, and I did employee appreciation baskets for them. And that was my first stab at entrepreneurship. A lot of business owners, and more especially for women, is so much they're trying to juggle, trying to raise a family or manage a household, run a business. Sometimes our cars double shift, it's our, work transportation and it's our kids' Uber. And then we've got to, manage customers. We got to, manage inventory. We've got to sell ourselves, sell the business. And then on the, and at the same time, tell ourselves that we're good enough. Tell ourselves that we're worth it. And have something so compelling that makes us want this business and makes this business want to succeed even more. And I think once you have such a compelling goal and you hold on to that, more and more people are likely to succeed.
So let's talk more about starting a business. News 5 anchor Ashley Kirkland sat down with a business consultant.
Joining us now to talk more about entrepreneurship is business consultant Nahamani Israel. And welcome to Let's Talk Cincy. Thanks so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, let's get to the basic. What are the first steps in developing a business?
Whenever starting a new business, you want to make sure that you are solving a problem for others. So trying to figure out who is your target audience and what are their problems and their pain points. And then I always tell people, find something that you're passionate about, something you love doing that's going to get you up out of bed in the morning, and do that and figure out a way to monetize it, because entrepreneurship is tough. And if you don't love what you're doing, it's going to be hard to stay the course.
What challenges might women face that may be different from men when it comes to starting a business?
Women face a lot of challenges. Economic mobility is a lot harder for women. We don't always get access to loans and capital. And then if you think about just the traditional roles a woman plays as a mother, as a caregiver, sometimes it takes her out of the workforce for a period of time. So she may not have the savings or the credit score that someone would be looking for to do a traditional loan. So it can be really hard. I always try to encourage entrepreneurs to bootstrap their way into business. So find a way to monetize it early on, and then grow it and scale it as you get the money coming in.
And thankfully there are organizations that will help entrepreneurs, like the Ohio Economic and Community Development Institution. What services do you guys offer?
So ECDI offers an array of services to support women entrepreneurs. They have coaching, they have access to capital, they have training programs, and they are always supporting women. If you're trying to get contracts with the government, they can actually help you with that process, which again is another challenging uphill battle. So it's great to have an organization that understands what women are going through and able to support them in a very organic way.
Yeah, and let's talk deeper about the training process that maybe they can help women with when it comes to getting started with a business and entrepreneurship.
It starts with the beginning, writing your own business plan, how to figure out how to do your financials. So maybe setting you up with QuickBooks or whatever accounting system is applicable for your industry, teaching you how to manage cash flow and understand what cash flow projections look like. When are you going to have great months and when are you going to have scarce months, and making sure that you can plan accordingly. They also offer training on how to do business in today's digital era. So a lot of how to use social media to close the deal, how to build a website or make sure that your website is producing the results that you want. They help with professional development. So sometimes it's that leadership needs that development. How am I going to manage a staff? If I am not coming from a leadership role, those nuances are very challenging. So they help out with a great array of trainings.
Now, you touched on it earlier, talking about something you're passionate about. Yes. Now, some people, they do try to turn their passion into a business. Is that a good idea? And also, How can you get longevity in that when it comes to a business strategy?
I do think it's a great idea to make sure that you're passionate. I started my business as a side hustle. So I was working full time and working my business on the side. And as my client base grew, then I was able to step away from my 9-to-5 job and become a full-time entrepreneur. So that allowed me to not have to rely solely on my business in the early days when there's lots of ups and downs and you're not sure where that next check is coming from.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, when you're running a business, you're wearing all of the hats. You are the janitor, you are the accountant, you are the mom to the staff, you are doing everything. So if you're not passionate about it and you don't love it and it doesn't set your soul on fire, it is much harder to really stay the course, because there are going to be tough days. You're going to look in the mirror and say, what am I doing? So I always tell people, if you're passionate about it and you understand you have that strong, compelling why, then it's so much easier to get through those tough times.
Ooh, you said set your soul on fire. That's
Yes.
powerful. All right, thanks so much, Nahamini, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for all of the tips.
The sky is no limit for a local woman pilot. Martha Lunkin discusses the incident that temporarily grounded her when Let's Talk Cincy returns.